Assalamu alaikum. This is Brother Hameed back again with the Muslim Empowerment Institute. Today we're going to finally demonstrate the prayer. Now remember, before you pray, there are 5 preconditions that you have to fulfill before you actually pray. You have to make sure that your body, your clothing, and your place of prayer is free of najasa. Najasa are the substances that will prevent you from praying. You have to make sure you're in a state of wudu. You have to make sure that the prayer time is in. You have to make sure that you're facing the Qibla, the direction of the Kaaba in Mecca. You have to make sure that you're covered properly for the prayer. For men, the minimum is to cover from the navel to the knees. And for women, they have to cover all of their bodies except their face and their hands. So after you've done this, you're ready to pray. So you stand shoulder width, your feet shoulder width apart, and you're looking at your prostration area, all right? And you're going to raise your hands like this, and the tips of your fingers can go anywhere between like where your ear is or to your shoulders, all right? So you're going to raise your hands, and you're going to say, Allahu Akbar. And while saying Allahu Akbar, you're going to intend to make the specific prayer that you're about to pray. So if I'm going to pray, let's say the Dhuhr prayer, you'll make the intention to pray the Dhuhr prayer, all right? So you'll say, Allahu Akbar, and you're going to put your hands, right hand over left hand, anywhere between your navel and between your chest. And you see some people pray with their hands to the sides. So you can put your hands like this, and you're going to recite Al-Fatiha, okay? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. So after the first and second cycle of the prayer, if you know any verses from the Quran, you will recite that at this time. But if you don't, you can skip that, okay? And after that, you will go straight to the bowing position while saying Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. And you would say, Subhana Rabbil Azim, Subhana Rabbil Azim, Subhana Rabbil Azim. And you can say this either once or 3 times. And then you rise back up and say, Sami Allahu liman hamida, Rabbana lakal hamd. And then you'll go into prostration. Allahu Akbar. Subhana Rabbil A'la, Subhana Rabbil A'la, Subhana Rabbil A'la. Then you rise back up, Allahu Akbar, into the sitting position. Now you wouldn't say anything at this time. Then you would go back in for a second prostration. Allahu Akbar. Subhana Rabbil A'la, Subhana Rabbil A'la, Subhana Rabbil A'la. And then you would rise back up for the standing position in the next cycle. Allahu Akbar. You would say that while saying Allahu Akbar, rising back up for the second cycle of the prayer. Then you would say the Al-Fatiha again. And then you would go back into the bowing position. Allahu Akbar. And you would say the Subhana Rabbil Azim. You can say it once or you can say it up to 3 times. Then you would rise back up and say Sami Allahu liman hamida, Rabbana lakal hamd. And then you would go back into prostration. Allahu Akbar. And you would say the Subhana Rabbil A'la once or up to 3 times. And you would rise back up saying Allahu Akbar. Then going back into prostration, Allahu Akbar. And you would say the Subhana Rabbil A'la 3 times or once, like I said. Then you would rise back up, Allahu Akbar. Now at this time you would say what is called the Tashahhud. Now if you don't know the Tashahhud, you can just skip that, okay? And then if you're praying a 2-cycle prayer like the Fajr prayer, you would just end the prayer at that time. And you would say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And that will end your prayer for a 2-cycle prayer. Now we're going to talk about a 3-cycle prayer, which is the prayer called Maghrib. This is the prayer that's done during the sunset. So let's do that. Allahu Akbar. Remember, you will make the intention to pray whatever prayer that you're praying. So we're going to demonstrate a Maghrib prayer, which is 3 cycles, okay? Allahu Akbar. And you would say Al-Fatiha, right? And then you would go into the bowing position while saying Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. And you would say the Subhana Rabbil Azim one time or up to 3 times. And you would rise back up and say Sami Allahu liman hamida Rabbana lakal hamd. And then you would go back into prostration. Allahu Akbar. And you can say the Subhana Rabbil A'la one time or up to 3 times. Then rise back up. Allahu Akbar. And then go back into another prostration. Allahu Akbar. And say the Subhana Rabbil A'la one time or up to 3 times. And then you rise back up. Allahu Akbar. And when you rise back up, you say Allahu Akbar. And then you say Al-Fatiha once again. And after you finish that, you go back into the bowing position, saying Allahu Akbar. And remember, you would say the what? The Subhana Rabbil Azim one time or up to 3 times, then rise back up and Sami Allahu liman hamida Rabbana lakal hamd, and then go back into prostration. Allahu Akbar. And you would say Subhana Rabbil A'la one time or up to 3 times, rise back up in the sitting position. Allahu Akbar. Then go back into the prostration. Allahu Akbar. Subhana Rabbil A'la. And then you can rise back up. And remember, if you don't know what is said in the sitting position at this time, you just skip it. And just go back up. Allahu Akbar. And you would say what? Al-Fatiha. And after you finish that, go back into the bowing position. Allahu Akbar. And you would say Subhana Rabbil Azim. And then rise back up. Sami Allahu liman hamida Rabbana lakal hamd. And then go back into prostration. Allahu Akbar. Subhana Rabbil A'la. Then back into the same position. Allahu Akbar. Then go back into prostration. Allahu Akbar. Subhana Rabbil A'la. Then go back up. Allahu Akbar. Now this is for a 3-cycle prayer. This time, like I said, you would say the tashahhud, which is what it said in this sitting position. But if you don't know it, you would just end the prayer. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Now we're going to do, the last one is a 4-cycle prayer. And so you would make the intention to pray that prayer. So we know, of course, I'm just going to stop for a moment. We have 5 daily prayers: the Fajr, Zuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha prayer. So the Fajr prayer has 2 cycles called Raka'ah. The Zuhr and Asr prayer have 4 cycles apiece. And the Maghrib prayer has 3 cycles, like what we just did. And the Isha prayer has 4 cycles. Okay, so the prayers that have 4 cycles is Zuhr, Asr, and Isha. The prayer that has 2 cycles is the Fajr prayer. And the prayer that has 3 cycles is the Maghrib prayer, like the one we just did. So we're just going to do one of the 4-cycle prayers in the demonstration. So I'll just do the Dhuhr prayer. Allahu Akbar. And remember, you say Al-Fatiha. Then you go down in the bowing position. Allahu Akbar. Subhana Rabbil Azim. You can say, remember, once or up to 3 times. Rise back up. Sami Allahu liman hamida Rabbana lakal hamd. And to prostration. Allahu Akbar. Subhana Rabbil A'la. Rise back up. Allahu Akbar. Go back down. Allahu Akbar. Subhana Rabbil A'la. Then rise back up. And then you say, while you're saying, when you're rising back up, you'll say Allahu Akbar. And then you'll say Al-Fatiha again. And after you finish that, you go into the bowing position. Allahu Akbar. Subhana Rabbil Azim. Rise back up. Sami Allahu liman hamida Rabbana lakal hamd. Then to the prostration. Allahu Akbar. Subhana Rabbil A'la, Subhana Rabbil A'la, Subhana Rabbil A'la. Once or up to 3 times. Rise back up. Allahu Akbar. Then go back down. Allahu Akbar. Subhana Rabbil A'la, Subhana Rabbil A'la, Subhana Rabbil A'la. Allahu Akbar. So now, the next 2 cycles of this prayer will be exactly like the first 2 cycles of this prayer. So I'm not going to repeat it again. So this just imagine that I just finished the 4 cycles of the prayer. So remember, if you don't know the tashahhud, which is said in the sitting position, you would just skip that. And you would just end the prayer. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Once to the right and once to the left. Now, after you pray, a lot of people, they would, what we call make dua. They would ask God for things, ask God for forgiveness, and ask God for any need that you need fulfilled. Okay? So again, I just wanted to demonstrate that. There are two videos that came before this one. The other prayer was, the description of the prayer, and then the one after that was the prayer explained, and this one is the demonstration of how the prayer actually works. So we went over a 2-cycle prayer, a 3-cycle prayer, and then we did a 4-cycle prayer. So if you have any comments, feel free to leave them in the comment area. Like, share, and subscribe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.